When Jake catches his wife, Sophia, dismissing him like a stranger in their own home, he uncovers a deeper betrayal. Armed with quiet resolve, he flips the script on their crumbling marriage, exposing her secrets in a way she never saw coming. Will Jake reclaim his dignity, or will Sophia turn the tables? Buckle up for a story of loyalty tested, trust shattered, and a comeback that hits hard, without throwing a single punch. Jake Torres pulled into the cracked asphalt lot of his South Beach condo, the engine of his '98 pickup ticking as it cooled. In the passenger seat sat a cardboard tray with 2 Cuban coffees, steam curling from the lids. He'd stopped at Abuela's Cafe, a hole-in-the-wall joint 2 miles out, because Sophia loved their cortadito. It was his third gesture this week, after grilling her favorite ropa vieja and rewiring the flickering porch light. Small moves to keep their marriage steady. He grabbed the coffees, locked the truck, and headed upstairs, his work boots thumping on the concrete steps. Inside, the condo was quiet except for the hum of the AC. Sophia sat cross-legged on the couch, her phone glowing in her hand. Jake set the coffee on the counter, the aroma sharp and sweet. "Got your favorite," he said, sliding the cup toward her. She didn't look up. Her thumbs danced over the screen, a faint smile tugging at her lips. "Work stuff?" Jake asked, leaning against the counter. "Client emails," Sophia muttered, eyes locked on her phone. "Deadlines." Jake nodded, sipping his own coffee. It burned his tongue, but he swallowed anyway. Sophia, a marketing exec at a downtown firm, had been buried in her job lately. Late nights, hushed calls, a new edge to her voice. He chalked it up to stress. Her promotion last month came with longer hours, and Jake, a mechanic who fixed cars for half the neighborhood, knew how to wait out a rough patch. He'd been doing it for weeks. "Thought we could hit the boardwalk tonight," he said, keeping his tone light. "Grab some arepas, walk by the water." Sophia's fingers paused, then resumed typing. "Maybe. I've got a presentation to prep." Jake let it go. He crossed to the sink, rinsing his mug, and glanced out the window. His truck sat under a palm tree, pollen dusting the hood. Next door, Carla's dog yipped, chasing its tail in the yard. Carla, a nurse who'd patched up half the block's kids, waved from her porch. Jake raised a hand back, but his gut twisted. Something fell off, like a socket wrench slipping a bolt. He turned back to Sophia. "You eat yet?" "I grabbed something at the office," she said, still not looking up. Her phone buzzed, and she laughed softly at the screen. Not a work laugh, a private one. Jake's jaw tightened, but he didn't press. Instead, he pulled out his toolbox and headed to the porch. The light fixture had been acting up again, and fixing things kept his hands busy and his mind quiet. Outside, Carla was watering her plants, her nurse's scrubs swapped for a tank top and shorts. She spotted Jake kneeling by the light. "You're gonna fix every house on this street before you take a break," she called, grinning. Jake chuckled, twisting a wire. "Gotta keep the place standing." Carla set down her watering can and leaned over the fence. Sophia still glued to that phone. Her tone was casual, but her eyes held a question. "She's got a big project," Jake said, focusing on the wires. Carla nodded slowly. "Heard her on a call last night. Sounded late. Real late." Jake's hands stilled. "Work runs her ragged." "Maybe," Carla said, picking up her can. "Just keep an eye out, okay? You're too good a guy to be running on fumes." He brushed it off with a shrug, but her words stuck like grit in a carburetor. Back inside, Sophia was still on the couch, now typing with both hands. Jake set the toolbox down with a thud. "Carla says hi," he said, testing the waters. Sophia's eyes flicked up, then back to her screen. "Cool. She's still nosing around everyone's business?" "She's just friendly," Jake said, keeping his voice even. He grabbed a beer from the fridge and popped the cap, the hiss cutting through the silence. "You sure about that walk? Air's nice tonight." Sophia sighed, setting her phone face down. "Jake, I'm swamped. Can we do it another time?" He took a long pull from the bottle. "Sure." That night, he cooked alone, chicken and rice, enough for 2. Sophia ate a few bites, then pushed her plate away, citing a headache. She disappeared into the bedroom, phone in hand. Jake cleaned the kitchen, the clink of dishes louder than he meant. As he scrubbed, his mind churned. Carla's comment. Sophia's laugh. The way she'd started locking her phone. He wasn't the suspicious type, but doubt crept in like rust. After Sophia went to bed, Jake sat at the kitchen table, the porch light now steady outside. He opened his laptop, pretending to check work emails, but his eyes kept drifting to her phone, charging on the counter. He didn't touch it. Not yet. The next morning, Jake was up early, swapping the oil in a neighbor's sedan before his shop shift. Carla swung by with her dog, a scrappy mutt named Chico. You're out here saving the world one car at a time, she teased, tossing Chico a ball. Somebody's got to do it, Jake said, wiping his hands on a rag. Carla glanced toward his condo. Sophia leave for work yet? Left at dawn, Jake said. Big meeting, she said. Carla tossed the ball again, her voice low. Saw her car parked downtown last night, near that fancy hotel by the pier. Thought you should know. Jake's grip on the rag tightened. Probably a client thing. Maybe, Carla said, her tone neutral. Just seemed odd for a work night. He nodded, keeping his face steady, but his pulse kicked up. After Carla left, Jake finished the oil change and drove to his shop, the radio off. The day blurred, wrenches, oil stains, a busted alternator, but Carla's words looped in his head. That evening, he pulled into the condo lot just as Sophia's car rolled in. She stepped out, heels clicking, her briefcase slung over her shoulder. Dinner's on me tonight, Jake called, holding up a bag of empanadas from a food truck. Sophia smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Sweet, but I ate with the team. Rain check? Jake set the bag on the counter. Third rain check this week. She froze, then laughed it off. Work's crazy, babe. You know how it is. He didn't answer. Instead, he grabbed a plate and ate alone, the empanadas tasting like cardboard. Later, when Sophia stepped into the shower, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. Jake stared at it, his fingers twitching. He'd never snooped before, but the weight of Carla's words pushed him forward. He tapped the screen. Her lock code, her birth year, hadn't changed. A text from Miguel, work glowed. Last night was fun. Same spot tomorrow? Jake's stomach dropped. He scrolled up, his heart pounding. Flirty messages, emojis, a photo of a hotel bar. He snapped screenshots, sent them to his email, and locked the phone before Sophia emerged, towel-wrapped, oblivious. Everything okay? She asked, catching his expression. Yeah, Jake said, his voice steady. Just tired. But he wasn't tired. He was awake, sharp, focused, and done waiting for answers. Tomorrow, he'd start digging. For now, he'd play the loyal husband. But the clock on Sophia's secrets was ticking. Jake woke to the buzz of his alarm, the Miami sunrise slicing through the blinds. He rolled out of bed, careful not to wake Sophia, who slept with her phone tucked under her pillow. Last night's discovery, the text from Miguel, burned in his mind, but he kept his movements steady, mechanical. He brewed coffee, poured it into a thermos, and headed to his shop, the screenshots saved in a hidden folder on his phone. Today, he'd build proof, not assumptions. At the garage, Jake worked on a rusted Mustang, his hands wrenching bolts while his brain mapped out a plan. He couldn't confront Sophia yet. Her charm could twist any accusation into his fault. Instead, he opened his laptop during a break and logged into their shared cloud account. Sophia never checked it. She'd always left the tech stuff to him. There, buried in her synced calendar, was a recurring team meeting at 8 p.m. every Thursday, pinned to a downtown address. The same hotel Carla mentioned. Jake cross-checked it with the GPS app Sophia hadn't disabled. Her car had been there 3 nights this week, long after office hours. He saved the data, his jaw tight. The shop's noise, clanging tools, a radio blaring reggaeton, faded as he focused. A coworker, Diego, slapped his shoulder. You good, man? You're staring at that screen like it owes you money. Just crunching numbers, Jake said, closing the laptop. Diego shrugged and walked off. Jake wasn't ready to share. Not yet. That evening, Jake drove home, passing the neon-lit bars of South Beach. Sophia's car wasn't in the lot. She'd texted earlier, working late, don't wait up. He didn't reply. Instead, he parked a block from the hotel, a sleek high-rise with valets circling like sharks. He didn't go in, just watched. At 8:15, Sophia's sedan pulled up. She stepped out, her briefcase swapped for a small purse, and disappeared inside. A minute later, a black SUV parked nearby. A man, tall, sharp suit, climbed out. Jake recognized him from Sophia's company website. Miguel, her boss. They didn't touch, but their quick glance at each other wasn't professional. Jake snapped a photo, time-stamped. His hands stayed steady, but his pulse hammered. Back home, he uploaded the image to his growing file. Carla's dog barked outside, and Jake stepped onto the porch, needing air. Carla was there, sweeping her steps. You look like you've seen a ghost, she said, pausing. Not a ghost, Jake said. Just clarity. She set the broom against the railing. Found something, didn't you? He nodded, keeping it vague. Enough to know I'm not crazy. Carla crossed her arms. You're too solid to let this slide, Jake. Whatever you do, do it smart. Always, he said, forcing a half smile. The next day, Jake upped the ante. He installed a tracking app on his own phone, syncing it to Sophia's car GPS through their shared insurance account. It wasn't spying, it was their joint policy, his name on the title. The app pinged her at the hotel again that night. Jake didn't follow this time. He had enough to act. At the shop, he confided in Diego, who'd been through a messy breakup. Get your ducks in a row, Diego advised, tightening a lug nut. Bank account, lawyer, the works. Don't let her spin this. Jake took the advice. After work, he stopped by the credit union, redirecting his paycheck to a new account. Bills would still clear through their joint one, but his savings were now his own. He called a divorce attorney, a guy Diego recommended, and booked a consultation for next week. No rush, no rage, just preparation. That weekend, Carla hosted a barbecue, the kind where neighbors brought folding chairs and kids ran wild. Jake arrived with a tray of grilled plantains, his contribution. Sophia showed up late, her laugh loud as she chatted with friends. Jake watched her work the crowd, all smiles and charisma. Then she sidled up to him, looping her arm through his like nothing was wrong. Having fun? She asked, her voice sweet. Jake kept his tone neutral. Sure. You? Always, she said, squeezing his arm before drifting to another group. Across the yard, Carla caught Jake's eye, her look saying she saw through the act. Then it happened. Sophia, holding a drink, laughed with a neighbor and said, Jake's so predictable, always fixing something. Like a robot. The group chuckled, but Jake felt the sting. He didn't react, just sipped his soda and filed it away. Later, as he helped Carla stack chairs, she muttered, She's playing you in front of everyone. You okay? Not about being okay, Jake said, folding a chair. It's about what's next. Carla nodded. You've got a plan, don't you? Working on it, he said. Monday night, Jake tested the waters. He left his laptop open on the kitchen counter, a fake email drafted. Tampa shop offering me a lead mechanic role. Big pay bump. Thinking it over. Sophia walked in, glanced at the screen, and took the bait. Tampa, she said, raising an eyebrow. That's a haul. You should take it. Fresh start might do you good. Jake hid his satisfaction. Maybe. I'll sleep on it. Her push for him to leave confirmed it. She wanted space, probably for Miguel. Jake didn't call her out. Instead, he kept gathering evidence. Another late-night hotel ping. A receipt for a bar tab slipped into her purse. Each piece locked into place like a piston in an engine. He wasn't building a case for revenge. He was building a way out. Jake's plan clicked into high gear under the fluorescent hum of his shop's break room. He'd spent days collecting evidence, screenshots, GPS pings, a bar receipt from Sophia's purse, and now it was time to move. His laptop screen glowed with the fake Tampa job email, still open as bait. Sophia had pushed him to take it twice more, her tone casual but eager, like she was nudging him out the door. Jake wasn't leaving Miami, but he'd let her think he might. Tonight, at Carla's community block party, he'd flipped the script. He arrived at the shop early, swapping a carburetor on a client's Jeep while mapping out his approach. Diego, wiping grease from his hands, noticed Jake's focus. You got that look, man, Diego said, tossing a rag. What's cooking? Tonight's the night, Jake replied, tightening a bolt. I'm done playing the fool. Diego whistled. Go clean. No shouting matches. You're better than that. Jake nodded, pocketing his phone. He'd already emailed his evidence to the attorney, who'd advised keeping things civil but firm. Show the truth, don't sell it, the lawyer had said. Jake planned to do just that. Carla's block party spilled across the street, with picnic tables, a bounce house for kids, and a salsa band thumping through portable speakers. Jake showed up with a cooler of sodas, his contribution to the potluck. Neighbors mingled, their chatter blending with the music. Sophia arrived an hour late, breezing in with a tray of store-bought pastelitos and a smile that lit up the crowd. She worked the scene, laughing with a group near the grill, her phone never leaving her hand. Jake stayed low-key, helping Carla flip burgers. She leaned in, her voice low. She's acting like nothing's wrong. You sure about this? Dead sure, Jake said, sliding a burger onto a bun. I'm not here to fight. I'm here to finish. Carla gave him a nod, her eyes sharp. I've got your back. The moment came when Sophia, holding a drink, joined a circle of neighbors, including Rob, a local contractor with a booming laugh. Jake overheard her say, Jake's been so quiet lately, probably planning his big Tampa escape. The group chuckled, and Rob clapped Jake's shoulder. You ditching us, man? Jake set down his spatula, his voice calm but clear. Not going anywhere. But since we're sharing, I've got something to say. He pulled out his phone, opened the folder of evidence. and handed it to Carla, who'd agreed to back him up. Sophia's been spending a lot of time with her boss, Miguel. Late nights, hotel meetups, texts that aren't about work. I've got proof. The group went quiet. Sophia's smile froze as Carla scrolled through the screenshots, texts, GPS logs, the hotel photo. This isn't gossip, Jake said, addressing the circle. It's what I've been living with. I asked for honesty. I got this instead. Sophia pushed through the crowd, her voice sharp. You're snooping now? That's low, Jake. Lower than lying? He shot back, keeping his tone even. I gave you months to explain. You gave me excuses. Rob shifted uncomfortably, glancing at the phone. This true, Sophia? She laughed, a brittle sound. It's just work stuff. He's blowing it out of proportion. Carla handed the phone to Rob, who skimmed the texts. His face tightened. This doesn't look like work. Sophia's eyes darted, searching for an ally. You're all buying this? He's twisting everything. Jake didn't flinch. The truth doesn't need twisting. Those texts speak for themselves. A neighbor, Elena, spoke up. Sophia, you've been distant. We've all seen it. Sophia's composure cracked. She grabbed her purse and stormed toward her car, tossing over her shoulder. You're embarrassing yourself, Jake. No. He called after her, loud enough for the crowd to hear. I'm done being embarrassed for you. The band played on, but the mood shifted. Neighbors murmured, some nodding at Jake, others avoiding his gaze. Rob handed back the phone. That took guts, man. Sorry you're dealing with this. Jake pocketed the device. Appreciate it. I'm just setting the record straight. Carla pulled him aside as the party resumed. You okay? Better than okay, Jake said, grabbing a soda. I'm free. That night, Sophia didn't come home. Jake didn't wait up. He packed a duffel with essentials, work clothes, tools, his laptop, and drove to a budget motel near the beach. The room was basic, but it was his. He texted Diego, it's done. Moved out. Lawyers next. Diego replied with a fist bump emoji, and, you got this. Jake lay on the stiff motel bed, the ocean's hum faint through the window. He wasn't angry, just focused. Sophia's betrayal had been a slow burn, but tonight, he'd turn the heat back on her. The next move was his, and he'd play it clean. Jake woke to the hum of waves outside his motel window, the salty air slipping through a cracked vent. He'd slept better than he had in months, the weight of Sophia's deception no longer pinning him down. His phone buzzed with a text from her. We need to talk. This is a misunderstanding. He didn't reply. Instead, he showered, grabbed his toolbox, and drove to the shop, the Miami skyline sharp against the morning haze. Today, he'd focus on building, not breaking. At the garage, Jake dove into a transmission rebuild, his hands steady as he worked through the gears. Diego swung by, carrying a coffee. Heard about the party, he said, leaning against a workbench. You really laid it all out there. Had to, Jake said, tightening a bolt. No more pretending. Diego nodded. Word spreading. People are talking. Let them, Jake said. I'm not hiding. He'd already taken steps to protect himself. The new bank account was active, covering his share of the condo's bills while keeping his earnings separate. He met with the attorney after lunch, signing papers to start the divorce process. The lawyer, a no-nonsense woman named Rosa, reviewed his evidence. You've got a strong case, she said, tapping the folder of screenshots. Keep it civil, and you'll come out clean. Jake spent the afternoon at the motel, searching for a more permanent place. He found a listing for a studio apartment near the beach, small, affordable, with a balcony overlooking the water. He called the landlord, secured it with a deposit, and moved his duffel there by evening. The space was bare, but it felt like a fresh start. He set his toolbox in a corner and plugged in his laptop, ready to carve out his own path. Meanwhile, Sophia scrambled to save face. She posted on social media a vague caption about misunderstandings and needing space, but the neighborhood buzz wasn't kind. At a local cafe, Jake overheard two neighbors whispering about her late-night hotel visits. He didn't join in, just sipped his espresso and kept moving. Carla texted him, Sophia's telling people you overreacted. Nobody's buying it. Jake sent back a thumbs up. He didn't need validation, he needed results. Sophia's career took a hit. Miguel, her boss, stopped calling after the party, likely spooked by the public fallout. Jake learned through Diego, whose cousin worked at Sophia's firm, that she'd been reassigned to a less visible project. Her charm couldn't outrun the truth. She called Jake twice, leaving voicemails about working things out. He saved them for the lawyer, but didn't respond. Her words felt like a sales pitch, not remorse. Jake leaned into his own life. He started a side hustle, restoring a vintage Chevy Impala for a client who'd seen his work at the shop. The job paid well, and word spread. 2 more clients booked him for custom fixes. He spent evenings at the studio, sanding parts under a portable lamp, the ocean's rhythm keeping him grounded. Carla stopped by one night with a 6-pack and a pizza. "You're building an empire," she said, nodding at the car frame in the lot. "Just building me," Jake said, cracking open a beer. She raised her can. "That's enough." They sat on the balcony, the pizza box between them. Carla didn't pry, but she asked, "You ever think about giving her another shot?" Jake shook his head. "She didn't just cheat. She made me the punchline. I'm done auditioning for respect." Carla clinked her can against his. "Good call." The next day, Sophia showed up at the shop, catching Jake off guard as he polished a fender. She stood by his toolbox, arms crossed, her purse slung over her shoulder. "You're really doing this," she said, her voice tight. "Throwing us away." "You threw us away," Jake said, wiping his hands on a rag. "I'm just cleaning up." Her eyes narrowed. "I made mistakes, okay? Work was intense. Miguel was a distraction. I'll quit if that's what you want." Jake set the rag down. "I wanted a partner, not a deal. You chose what you chose." She stepped closer, her voice softening. "We can fix this. Move back in. We'll go to therapy." He held her gaze, unflinching. "I'm not your backup plan." Sophia's jaw tightened, and she left without another word. Jake turned back to the fender, his focus unbroken. That night, he ran along the beach, the sand firm under his sneakers. His phone stayed quiet, no texts, no calls. For the first time in months, he felt light, like he was running towards something, not away. Jake's new studio apartment buzzed with the rhythm of his work, tools clinking as he restored a '67 Mustang in the parking lot below his balcony. The divorce papers were filed, his lawyer Rosa finalizing the split with no contest from Sophia. Jake's days were full, mornings at the garage, evenings on his side hustle, and weekends running with a local group along Miami's boardwalk. His life wasn't just stable, it was his own, built on choices he controlled. One Saturday, he jogged past food trucks and palm trees, his sneakers pounding the pavement. A woman from the running group, Lena, kept pace beside him. A high school teacher with a sharp wit, she'd started joining him for post-run coffees. Today, she tossed him a water bottle as they slowed near a pier. "You're looking lighter these days," she said, wiping sweat from her brow. "Feeling it," Jake replied, catching the bottle. "Less baggage." Lena grinned. "Good. You deserve that." Their talk stayed easy, no pressure, just real. She asked about his car projects. He asked about her classroom stories. When she mentioned her dog's obsession with chasing seagulls, Jake laughed for the first time in weeks. It wasn't romance. Not yet. Just a connection that didn't demand he prove his worth. At the shop, Jake's reputation grew. His boss, impressed by a streamlined delivery schedule Jake had pitched, put him in charge of a new client, a classic car dealer needing custom restorations. The raise meant he could save for a bigger place, maybe one with a garage. Diego, ever the cheerleader, slapped his back. "You're killing it, man. From motel to mogul." "Just paying my bills," Jake said, but he smiled, torquing a spark plug. Sophia, meanwhile, faced the ripple effects. She'd moved to a smaller apartment across town, her social media posts now sparse and subdued. Carla, who kept tabs through mutual friends, told Jake over tacos that Sophia's colleagues had sidelined her after Miguel's abrupt transfer to another branch. "She's quieter now," Carla said, dipping a chip in salsa. "Like she's finally seeing the cost." Jake shrugged, biting into his taco. That's her load to carry. One evening, at a community cleanup event by the beach, Sophia appeared. Jake was hauling trash bags with Lena and Carla when Sophia approached, holding a rake, her posture stiff but deliberate. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows on the sand. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice low, eyes on Jake. He set down his bag, nodding to Lena and Carla, who stepped away. "Say what you need to," he said. Sophia gripped the rake, her knuckles pale. "I messed up. I let work, and Miguel, pull me away. I didn't see what I was doing to us. I'm sorry, Jake. I want to try again." He studied her, the apology clear but heavy with calculation. "I hear you," he said, "but we're past trying. You chose your priorities. I've chosen mine." Her shoulders slumped. "So that's it. No second chance." "Second chances need trust," Jake said. "You burned that. I'm not angry. I'm done." She nodded slowly, then walked back to the cleanup crew, her rake dragging slightly. Lena rejoined Jake, picking up a trash bag. "You okay?" she asked. "Better than okay," he said, grabbing another bag. "I'm good." The cleanup wrapped as the sky turned orange. Carla hosted a small gathering after, with neighbors grilling fish and passing around sodas. Jake brought his restored Mustang, parking it proudly by the curb. Rob, the contractor, whistled. "This thing's a beast." "You're making waves, Jake." "Just keeping my hands busy," Jake said, leaning against the hood. Lena raised her soda can. "To new roads." Jake clinked his can against hers. New roads. Weeks later, Jake drove the Mustang along Ocean Drive, the engine's rumble blending with the city's pulse. His phone buzzed, a text from Rosa confirming the divorce was finalized. Sophia had signed without a fight, her lawyer citing irreconcilable differences. Jake parked by the water, the waves glinting under streetlights. He didn't feel triumphant, just clear. He'd walked away from a life that diminished him, not to punish Sophia, but to reclaim himself. Sophia tried one last outreach. A letter slipped under his studio door, promising change and asking for coffee. Jake read it, then tossed it in the recycling. He didn't need her promises. His days were full. A new project, a run with Lena, a cold beer with Diego. The neighborhood respected his quiet strength. Even Rob, once Sophia's cheerleader, invited him to a fishing trip. Jake's victory wasn't in Sophia's downfall. It was in his own Rusa system rise. He'd built a life that didn't revolve around someone else's choices. As he drove home, the Mustang's headlights cut through the dusk, and he felt the weight of freedom. No revenge, no drama, just a man moving forward, his way.